Mr. Rob Houghton. Good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are. Broadcasting live from Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. And I have with me a special guest that I've known for a long time, Dallas Dallacheisa. We call him Dallas. Dallas manages one of the largest network operations centers for a sensitive government agency, which I'm not at liberty to talk about. Needless to say, Dallas has come a long way in his career. I've known him for probably 30 years. He worked with me in Africa when I had my company, which was a wireless telecommunications company. We'll talk about that. But first of all, I want to welcome Dallas to the show. Welcome, Dallas. How are you today?
Good, Rob. Nice. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. So, in the $1 million career, we want to demonstrate to people that anybody can do this. Anybody can have a very successful career, no matter where you start. I've already talked about in the first show, my humble background, starting off as a paper boy when I was 9 years old. And I know enough about your background. To the extent you're comfortable, Dallas, kind of talk about where you came from as a young child through your teenage years, and bring us up to date until the time I met you, which was in a CompUSA store in 1999. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I guess my humble beginnings kind of started in Arlington, Virginia. I was pretty much the product of a single parent. Mom raised me along with my grandmother and my aunt. Didn't have a lot really, except for love in the family, and that was free. So just at an early age, I always wanted to just start making my own money to either help out the family or myself. So even like in 7th grade, I took a job behind my mom's back washing towels for my junior high school for the gym. So that was something I never really told anybody really about. And then from there, as I got a little older, worked at a moto photo, was really into like swimming, so did the whole lifeguarding thing. And then when I graduated, I joined the Marine Corps at 17. Had to get my mom's signature to allow me to enter, actually, at that age. So she's like, is this something you really want to do? That I was like, yeah, because you guys can't afford to send me to college. So where else is the money going to come from? So with the GI Bill and all that going on back in the day, it was the perfect opportunity. And it just seemed like the logical choice at that time. And this is back in 1990. So went in, got my 8 years experience in the Marine Corps, did legal stuff, but always found myself very into computing during the 7th and like 7th, 8th grade, when the Commodore 64 was just being released.
Yeah.
So I always found myself like just kind of like trying little scripts here and there, or just learning, taking classes, and it kind of stuck with me even in the Marine Corps, as I would try to build databases for our legal team to follow and track cases and things like that. And then as I got out, which was like around 97 or so, I ended up working in a CompUSA in Fairfax, Virginia, which is where I met you, out of all people. And at that point, it was more or less, I helped open the store, so I knew where every product was, and I just knew way too much at that time. And so the guys gave me the choice of working behind the upgrades counter as well. So I did that, that is exactly where I ended up meeting you, behind the upgrades counter, because you were asking me about software and what do you think I need for this trip to go to Africa and start up this whole wireless telecom thing. And I was like, well, you need, Vizio Professional at that time. It's funny how I remember the details now.
Yeah.
So got to talking, we got to talking. I had already applied to WAN Global at that time. And then and you were like, yeah, we're a little bit behind, but if you want to come meet with us and sit and talk. And so I ended up going to dinner with you guys at one point and giving some suggestions. I don't know how lucky I got, just that you picked me out of the whole batch. But needless to say, the career really started with you at that table. So
Yeah,
um,
I remember. I remember that day. I walked into CompUSA. I was getting ready to go to Africa. I needed some equipment, computers, and you were there. You said you were in the Marines. You seemed like a squared away dude. And I remember I said, would you like to try something different? And you said, I don't know. It depends upon what. And I said, would you like to go to Africa? And you're like, Africa? Where is Africa? 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 I said, yeah,
you mean
Africa. East,
Africa?
the real Africa, you mean? Where they have
Like lions and
jungles and
tigers and
rhinoceros?
bears, oh my.
I
So
remember
yeah,
you thought
not
they
only
had
that,
tigers. Yeah, I remember you thought they had tigers in Africa. I said, no, they don't have tigers in Africa. That's India. But yeah, we went to Africa. We started up a telecoms business. Tell everybody about that. Like, I'm interested in your perspective on how that, culture shock, business shock, getting headlong into an entrepreneurial business, high risk. How did that affect you, and how did that shape your career?
well, here's the thing. It's like when before we actually got to that point, I had taken a job with Wayne Global. I lasted there maybe a week before you called me and said, "Hey, I got the budget." And that was my deal with you. Is I said, the day you can pay me, and I said I'll go with you wherever. And when I got that call, I literally had just started with Wayne Global, which was actually a huge company back then.
Yeah.
Needless to say, the son took over that company and it bankrupted it within, Lord knows, I don't know, a couple months. It was hilarious. But the experience and the time taken to go with you to Africa is probably one of the most memorable, exciting, and like life-changing experiences that I could have ever imagined. And it was, I mean, coming out of the Marine Corps too, I was kind of used to being on my feet, adapting to change. So I was very flexible with everything you kind of would throw at me. And and it was just, when I went with you, I really didn't know a whole lot other than products and a little bit of this and that. But I had started studying for my exams. I had already taken an A+ exam. I was already MCSC. During my time at CompUSA, I used that time to basically gain the experience that I needed. I got my Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer certification at that time as well. So I was already getting schooled up and prepped to go with you at that point.
Yeah.
Just didn't know it. And the training that you put me through for like the wireless industry at that time was just about to start happening. So we were using frequency hopping type technology by Broadcom at that time or something like that.
Yep.
I can't remember.
Yep.
And so you sent me to some training to there. So I got schooled up a little bit on what we were going to be doing. Just wireless. I just ate, breathed, and did everything wireless. So we're like throwing up antennas around town and just practicing what we needed, networking things together, knowing IP, just the whole thing.
Yeah. Remember that time we hooked our first connection? Like, wireless industry was in its infant stage. Like, nobody was doing it in the States. This was like truly cutting edge stuff. And we had 2 computers set up. I think you ended up climbing up on top of the masonry building in Alexandria, Virginia or something.
Yep,
And
we got up
a
on
wireless.
the Masons. That experience, thanks to Dave, we got us up there and actually made me a Mason as well during the whole process. He indoctrinated me for the Mason. So
I mean,
here I sit, a 3rd degree Mason now. So
what was the feeling when you first? I mean, you were in charge of the technology. I understand you weren't like a 15-year veteran, but you knew more than anybody else. So you were the de facto expert everybody always tugging on your pants. How do we do this? What do we do next? What was the feeling like when we were in Africa and we made that first connection? I can still remember. It worked. We're like, holy
that
shit,
was
it worked.
that was a connection between Africa Online, between two of their pops, and their throughput was like just it was suffering.
Yeah.
That connection literally brought their communication into the next decade. Like they went from maxing out their ability to transmit to like giving it ample room to send more if they wanted at that point. But
Yeah.
learning, you know, learning how antennas, like bend in the wind and the curvature of the earth, all sorts of little things would cause it to, to either this, the misalign or things like that. But we made it work. We made it work, and they were just completely floored on how much better their system became because of these links. And
Yeah.
it was a firm fixed cost to them after it got done. So it dropped
Yeah.
their average, their ROI was just completely worth it was just worth it for them to do it.
Yeah.
So but
Yeah.
just to make it work and say how, wow, what a difference. It was just incredible. I think the whole country itself had a 1.5 meg connection via satellite going out of the country. So you can
Yes.
imagine the backlog of data that was just starting to occur. So
I remember over at Lipton Tea, I think was one of the plantations or something we hooked up. They were literally so excited with the bandwidth and the internet connection. They were literally dancing in the streets. I remember it was just insane.
Reuters also. Yeah, you had
Reuters.
Reuters also.
Oh my! We hooked up all the ATMs. Remember, all of a sudden, all the ATMs were up and running. People could get money. It was crazy, man. But so, what was it? I mean, what sort of advice, could you give young people now that are maybe in a stable job and are thinking about taking a risk on a startup, doing something entrepreneurial? What sort of advice can you give people like that now, based upon your experience?
I mean, first in general, have a plan for your life. Where do you want to see yourself go?
Yeah.
The literal difference between someone who is successful and who is not successful is actually having a plan. And sometimes that plan deviates, but always come back to that line, that center line. With me, I had nothing to lose at that point. I was back from being in the Marine Corps. I was working whatever I could, but at the same time, gaining the knowledge I needed to progress in that field. So, study up, make a foundation for yourself to where you can grow from in the field that you want to go. With me I did a little bit of everything. So it gave me a huge background in knowing about data centers, IP subnetting, systems themselves, software, hardware, knowing a little bit about everything. Because there was this one point when we were doing, I'd worked doing some stuff for a known agency in the US, and then I was going out in the field, basically putting together computers at an airport so that when one went down, another one could actually stay up communicating. There was one place in in Senegal where both the servers at the airport had gone down, and this was anti-terrorist type stuff. So they needed at least one of these servers up, and parts were just unable to be found. So the ability to, just cannibalize one server and make one of them work was ideal. So that was the kind of stuff I had dealt with after us a little bit, but all that stuff helps. You just have to know where you want to be at, and then see yourself, and then take the steps to get there.
I think sometimes it's figuring out. I think sometimes it's figuring out what the end game is, because once you know what the end game is, then you could take smaller tactical steps one after another,
Correct.
you know?
And then you have to ask yourself exactly like we had talked about before. What do you want to do in life? Do you want to be the guy that works the 20-year long career or the 30-year long career, or do you want to own something? You want to be an owner or a temp? And that was your big thing, and that always stuck with me in my head. It literally stuck with me, and I said I want to be an owner. And then when you get and then another thing that you always told me was like, yeah, when you find a good thing, you definitely want to be the owner, but sometimes that position's already taken. Owner's already taken, so you're gonna have to find another way. So
That owner was me. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, that owner was you, but can't say I didn't want to try it for a piece of the pie. And it was great because when we went to Africa, I started out as like just a simple PM for you, making things happen. You would leave me in Africa and say, hey, I need this done. I need our display, our demo area set up. And when I get back, we can show customers what we can do. And you entrusted me with that. And I took that seriously. And I made sure that everything was legit and done by the time we were done, that you got back. So I went from a simple PM with you to making me, director of what we had going on, which really went a long way for me when we left that industry or left that opportunity behind. So
that was over 100 people, man.
It was interesting. It definitely gave me. I was 24 at that point.
I know you were 24 years old. You went from a freaking nobody behind an upgrade counter at CompUSA to managing over 100 staff. That was unbelievable. I mean, most people never manage 100 people in their entire lives,
Yeah,
but yeah,
these guys nowadays don't. They look at you and they don't know these things when they see you initially. And I'm just like, I'm floored at the talent that gets hired nowadays. Everybody seems to think they know more than they really lead on to. So but
how would you describe so given your background, systems, software, hardware, IT, security, so to the person who's very young out there, who has gone through a journey of self-discovery, they've reached some self-awareness, they've done the self-examination, and they're sitting there now watching this and they're thinking, I really like computers, but I don't know, like, should I go software, hardware? I mean, explain to people those two career paths and the critical success factors of each one, in case somebody's out there thinking, do I go hardware or software, and where it could lead.
Well, I got my start with the hardware, and that's basically knowing what you're throwing the software on top of. So I would say build a foundation, like a house. You really need to have a strong foundation before you can build, put the walls up and the roof. Otherwise, it all collapses on you. It's good to when you first enter the industry, it's good to know a little bit about each portion of the IT industry, because realistically, it's massive. And it's just getting even more so now, where you're having specialized areas where now you have cloud technology, you have more security-based tech technology, you have AWS and cloud, which is everything is moving towards now, is more like the AWS cloud and security factors. Even Cisco is moving more towards a management-based software like ACI. These type of people are incredibly hard to find, and you can solidify yourself in the industry right now just by specializing in those. But have a knowledge of everything else, even if it's just enough to sound dangerous in. Because if the more you know about each little sector, the more knowledge comes together. It's like a puzzle. You can start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, especially in troubleshooting, where you can go, well, does it start with the 7 layers of the OSI model, so you can understand that factor a lot more. Is it the hardware that's giving me the issue, or is it the software that's giving me the issue? Is it my communication that's giving me the issue, the carriers? So you really learn that whole industry just by dabbling in each for a little bit and then choosing your specialty after. so that you can hone in on what you're best at and where you want to go. Most people just say, just choose one thing and go for it. Yeah, you could do that, but then you're dumb to the rest of it. The
Yeah.
guys that ended up really knowing more and being respected and sought after are the ones that understand the bigger picture, how the puzzle works.
So to use your analogy of a house, the foundation would be a mixture called a mixture of cement that's comprised of a little software, a little hardware, a little bit of AI,
And
maybe cloud technology, everything kind of mixed in, and then you start building the walls. It may be a room.
that,
Well, yeah. Is that right?
yeah, that's when you choose your specialty and say, I want to go into this field, but now I know a little bit about what makes this other sides tick. And then from there, go for it, because the sky's the limit. The more specialized you are in a particular field, the more you make. These guys like that are now ACIs or AWS cloud guys, you're looking at 150 plus in salary.
Wow.
And if you're having your own business and you want to charge them out, you're looking at 92 an hour. So, and even
Yeah,
more
plus,
so. Depending.
I would think a lot of these guys have a lot of flexibility, like working from home too, right?
Yep. I've been been fortunate enough to be working from home for the last 10 years or so. And I do everything from here. It allows me to have a little bit of a life at the same time, but I'm always on call and ready for my customer when I'm needed.
Yeah.
So
I would think that particularly like software coding and also what you're doing is almost, it seems like it's a creative art. It could satisfy not only your financial requirements, but an intellectual side of you if you really had that artistic side to you.
oh, you could develop anything at that point. If all you have to, that's how inventions are made. I mean, look at Elon Musk. The guy imagines the craziest thing and he puts his head to it and he works it to death and makes it happen. You have to have a focus like on other to go that route. So like he's one of the guys that I look up to as well. Like guys are just phenomenal. Workaholic, but at some point when you get up to our age, you kind of want that balance. So you learn to try to balance the family versus the work life because you can't have one without the other, and you can be a complete person.
So you go from Africa. What happens next? Just kind of, take us up through your progression.
Well,
So you leave Africa, we sell the company to a billionaire. You leave, I leave. What happens next?
Well, no discouragement and stuff like that, but sometimes you rise and you fall just as easy as you get into anything. It's knowing the ability to how to rise again, and it's a formula. To be honest with you, if once you have the knowledge of how you got there in the first place, you can always take from it and readapt yourself and just change with the times. When we left Africa, I had all that wireless experience, so I ended up working for a small company that was one of our providers for antennas, and it was called YDI at the time. YDI went under a bunch of changes. They ended up buying up a couple of different companies, and they're now called they bought Terrabeam Wireless, and then they bought Proxim Wireless. So Proxim Wireless, which is really popular, I guess, among the wireless community, is now what used to be some little small workshop in a building. So I left prior to then. I went on and got more into the government sector because of my background in the military. So I was looking to always try to get that government job. I've had plenty of opportunities to take it, but in the end, the commercial aspect of providing services to the government is where I kind of got I stayed in. About 3 years ago, I started up my company, which is called NOCOPS. It's short for Network Operations Center Operations. So that has led me into now being a sub on a contract for Customs and Border Patrol. So I'll do my main gig during the day, and in the evening, I'll put in some part-time work and up to 20 to 40 hours, depending on what they need from me, working as a systems engineer contractor for Customs and Border. And my main operation during the day is for that other agency that handles pretty much everybody.
Wow.
So yeah, I keep myself busy, and you get out what you put in. But those little things, that creating a rep for yourself, people knowing you as, hey, this guy knows his stuff, those are those little things like that, and the reputation is what leads you to being able to pick up and get placed on contracts that will earn you money, and then eventually adapt FTEs to get more employees, and then be able to add them to contracts in other places and go after things. I've gone as far as trying to team up with General Dynamics now. Right now, I'm currently teamed up with Portland Consulting. So, and it's always looking for opportunities. You taught me that. Make sure you look for the opportunities, because you never know where they're at. If a customer is talking about, hey, we have a need for that, you just say, hey, we can do that. And even if you can't, you figure a way to get it done. And that's how you build it.
Yeah, it was like us with
the.
it was like us. I remember I was away Christmas break, I think it was. You were still there, and we had somebody wanted to know if we could provide security cameras, and then we came up with the IP-based video camera, which was one of the first.
Yeah.
Which was one of the first ones made, video IP camera, to do surveillance or security surveillance. And I remember I got a call from well, two things happened. One, I remember I left one of the cameras on as a test camera in the office, partly to see if everyone was still working, because I was back in Virginia, so I could log onto my computer and see the office in Nairobi to see if everybody was working. I remember the first day I was looking at the camera.
Technology.
Yeah, it was brand new technology, and I remember I was looking at this thing thinking, wow, this is cool. I can watch everybody in the office, and I could see who was at work and who wasn't, who was screwing around. And then I remember the accountant, I can't remember her name, but I remember she took a sweater and she walked over to the camera and covered the camera up, and then it went black.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity for me, because that led me to learn about architecture and building the systems and putting the whole system in place so that it would work. So that was a good opportunity as well. So the experience I picked up in Africa was the entire foundation of what I went on to believe and try to achieve after.
We got to do a shout out to Gilbert Arum.
Oh yeah, Gilbert. I remember Gilbert.
Gilbert, man, was that guy amazing or what? Gilbert was just, there wasn't a problem he couldn't solve, and he never got upset. He never got angry. He never lost his cool. The guy was unbelievable.
You ever stay in touch with the guy?
Huh?
You ever stay in touch with the guy?
Of course I stay in touch with Gilbert. Yeah, he's always asking me. Gilbert is a rich man. I'm telling you, man. He's done very well for himself. He lives in a huge house in Kenya now. I mean, he's got hundreds of people working for him. No, Gilbert's made it big, man. I knew he was going to make it big. Man.
Yeah, he was very smart.
And Dr. McConey too.
Yep. I learned a little bit from everybody. Always, that's the thing. Never stop learning. Always take the best of the people you meet and learn a little bit about what they do or how they do it. The guys you surrounded me with were incredible. Even the antenna guy from that one company that you borrowed from. When we were setting up those antennas, he was teaching me how to flex and all, just things, how the weather outside affected communications and the links. So
are you talking about the guy from JLT?
Yeah. Where he went up to, I think he took some vacation time when he was there, and he went up to Mount Kilimanjaro and all sorts of like, where the hell did this guy disappear to? Like, you're paying this guy tons of money, and we're like, can't find him anywhere, and he's over there hiking Mount Kilimanjaro.
I was paying that guy like $1,000 a day, something crazy. And I turned around and go, where is this guy? He's supposed to be helping us. And somebody said, yeah, he wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro or something. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing, man? You know? I was going to, and Big Dave was there.
Big Dave. Sent blessings out to him. He's no longer with us, as you know. Yeah,
that was good.
He took me under his wing after all that too, and helped me get certified in a couple things. He added to my foundation really, because I knew A+ at that point, and so he hired me as an instructor to teach A+ for a little while at one of the schools, and that just strengthened the foundation of where I started from. So, opportunity. Yeah.
You know what I think this whole, and you're a great example. You came from very humble beginnings, and my take
is in the street.
Yeah, if you can do it, and nothing against you, but if Dallas Dallacheisa can go from where you started to where you are now, literally on top of the world with your own your own government contracting company making, I don't know how much, but I know it's a lot based on the house you live in. If you could do it, anybody could do it, right? If you could do it, anybody could do it. And sometimes you have to take the first step, which is you were working on a counter at CompUSA. So you could have been the guy who was just pissing and moaning and complaining about, I got a job at CompUSA, punching a clock, going home, sitting on the sofa. But you know what? You had a job with Wang. You took a gamble. You took a risk. And they say that fortune favors the bold. It was the best decision you ever made, but 99 out of 100 people would have never made that decision. So it's not like you don't deserve what came to you. You earned it. And I think, again, if you could do it, anybody could do it. It's just hard work, solving problems, but you got to get in the game, right? You had to get on the plane and go to Africa. We could have easily failed, but we didn't.
It all starts by saying just yes. Let's or realistically, I'm not sure what the but just what the why not? Let's go for it. And like you said, risk favors the bold. So
I remember you and I on the airplane going over to Africa. We were looking at each other, flying over to Africa with literally a couple of boxes of computer equipment and some antennas, thinking to ourselves, what in the hell are we thinking about? What are we doing?
Where was that? Hey, do you remember the one time where you thought we'd almost missed the plane and we're going to miss the plane? I said, hell no. I go, pack this shit up. Let's get it in the truck and let's get the hell out of here. And we made it to the airport. Not only did we make it to the airport, because it was a ways away at BWI, but we also found out that the plane had gotten delayed for like at least an hour. So we were fine. So that was an interesting thing too.
That's when we talked away in the business.
We missed it. I was like, shut up, get everything in the dress. So we kicked each other in the butt. So, and that was the cool thing, is like, we worked as a team. We were like, you were my captain, I was the lieutenant, and that's just how it worked. Everybody else was just, hey, you listen to us, we'll get it done. And and it was awesome. I think I'd never, just the experiences. It's probably one of the best times of my life. Just hands down one of the best points in my life. And
it's good, man. Yeah, man. No, we did it together, and in a lot of ways, it was at least one of the big highlights of my life too. And because of that, you and I are always going to be brothers. We'll always have done something that nobody else has done. I mean, just think about this for a second. We were the first. I mean, think about how big the internet is. We were the first wireless internet in Africa. I mean, think about that.
Geopath.net.
We were the first wireless internet company in freaking Africa in 1999. Our technology was ahead of what people were doing in the United States. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, it was just on the, it just started. The technology was just coming out and developing.
Well, I could talk to you all night about this, man. So, hey, I want to thank you for coming on the show. We'll do it again. Thank you very much. I wish you luck in your business. keep me in mind when you go public. When you start flying around on your own Gulfstream 5 jet, just remember who your old buddy was, Rob Houghton, man. Yeah.
I always keep you in the back of my head, so you're there. You're pretty much constantly telling me what to do in the back. It's like that little voice that says, "Get up off your ass. If you want to get it, you got to do it." So, and I
got it,
remember
man.
you sitting there in front of your computer working things as well, like putting together business models and all that. And I was like, well, that's part of it. So that was another item. Educate yourself on if that's what you want to be. If you want to run a company, you got to educate yourself and put it together. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still young in this, only 3 years in, but hey, I made the 3-year mark, so
That's right.
still around that thing. So, and
That's right,
it's
brother.
every put money back into the business. Yes, it's fine to pay yourself, but eventually the objective is to take the money, put it into the business, grow the business, and like anything else, you build a business to sell it. So, and that's another thing you taught
Exactly.
me.
And remember, there's only two kinds of people in the world, right? What are they?
Owners and temps, and you got to ask
All right,
yourself,
man.
what it's gonna be.
All right, brother. I'll let you go. Thanks again, Dallas.
All right,
See you, man.
good seeing
Thanks,
you,
man.
Rob. Miss you,
All right,
buddy.
brother.
We'll
I miss you too,
Bye.
man.